new year is off to a somber start in the Ukrainian capital. Kyiv has declared a national day of mourning as the death toll rose to 52 after Friday's massive aerial assault by Russia. But in a New Year's speech, Ukraine's president struck a resilient note, saying the country had already, quote, defeated the darkness, unquote, thanks to the strength of its people.
Україна стала сильніша.
Ukraine is alive. Ukraine lives. Ukraine fights. Ukraine advances. Ukraine overcomes the path. Ukraine gains. Ukraine works. Ukraine exists. And altogether, this is not a New Year's miracle, not a fairy tale, not magic, but the merit of each of you.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also released a pre-recorded New Year's address. He emphasised Russia's self-reliance and unity in pursuit of its national interests.
We are acutely and clearly aware of how much during this period depends on ourselves, on our attitude towards the best, our desire to support each other in word and deed. Working for the common good brought the community together. We are united in our thoughts, in work, and in battle.
Well, CNN's Clare Sebastian joining me now for more on all of this. Obviously, people have been busy the last few days. Just take us through that horrendous attack and the fallout.
Yeah, so obviously it's been a very deadly few days. The Russian bombardment of Ukraine on Friday is said to be the biggest since the war began. Then there was obviously Russia blaming Ukraine for the attack on the border region of Belgorod, attacks on Kyiv region, which Russia says was in retaliation. And then we have more into the new year. Ukraine's Air Force saying that pretty much all regions of the country went into New Year's Eve with air alerts. Essentially, they're saying that an unprecedented number of drones, 90 drones, were fired at the country, of which they managed to avert 87. So that is something of a victory for Ukraine's air defenses. But this is really their worst nightmare, because we know that the air defense missiles are dwindling. We know that they've just taken delivery or just been promised their last package of military aid from the US until more funding is approved, which is by no means certain at this point. So the fact that these air assaults are stepping up, both with drones and, as we saw on Friday, a combination of drones and missiles, is really the worst-case scenario for Ukraine. Separately, pro-Russian officials are accusing Ukraine of shelling Donetsk, killing 4 people there, according to the Russian-backed governor of that region. So, violence stepping up on both sides as we head into the new year, Max.
And we played some of those speeches. What do you read into them in terms of 2024?
Very different approaches to these speeches. President Putin's was just over 3.5 minutes long, which is not only much shorter than President Zelensky's 20-minute speech, but less than half the length of his speech last year. So he's pared it back. He didn't once mention the war in Ukraine overtly. He alluded to it. He thanked the servicemen. But it was a sort of, perhaps, a way of bringing an element of normality as he heads into an election in March. An election, of course, in name only. It's pretty much already preordained that he's going to win. But President Zelensky, by contrast, was really a sort of blow-by-blow account of Ukraine's successes. He talked about the diplomatic achievements, and in particular about the European Union. Take a listen.
Ukrainians are stronger than any blockades and vetoes, disbelief or skepticism. A country that is implementing extremely difficult and necessary reforms and changes during the war. And as a result, a country that is now awaited in the European Union. And these are not just words. These are official decisions, official documents. And this process will definitely have a logical conclusion. Full-fledged membership in strong Europe, a powerful one, from Lisbon to Luhansk.
From Lisbon to Luhansk. This is the biggest, I think, achievement that Ukraine can point to this year, because obviously that is the core of what they're fighting for, is EU membership. And on the flip side, of course, the front lines have barely moved. The air assault is stepping up, and they're looking pretty vulnerable going into the new year without any guarantee of further US support. President Putin, by contrast, looking confident, but I think both leaders are trying to essentially exhort their populations, both of them conflict weary, to hang on for longer here.